Hi, everyone. Diana Rankin here on our Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, where we answer questions that you've sent in. So, thank you for those questions. This particular question had to do with an article in my newsletter about creating prosperity. So, I will go over the practice that was in question in a few moments, but I want to tell you, I went ahead and asked Philip, told Philip, talk to us about money. So we're going to get into that, all of money. I don't know that there'll be too many surprises for what he said, but there might be. But I do want to also tell you that normally I don't, the newsletter, by the way, those of you who would like to get it, it comes out every Friday morning at 4:25 Eastern Time. It is free. You just have to go to my website and sign up. Website address is below. It's really just my name. But I did go ahead and put this particular article, 3 Practices to Create Prosperity. I did go ahead and put this on the blog. So the um, ULE to that is right below and as well. And we'll get in the one practice. Someone needed a little more explaining, so we'll get into that in a moment. We'll also get a message from one of my books, which is Phillip's, the Master's Book of Answers. And as you know, it's just a book, an oracle book, where we get our message for the week. Each page is a different message. So, what I want to tell you about this practice, and then I'll tell you what Philip has to say about money. This article, and now it's a blog, but it was an article in my newsletter. And again, you're welcome to sign up for that. It is free. Antoinette says, "Hi, Diana. Beautiful sweater. Thank you. Marshall Special." That's where I was out with a friend last night and we went shopping, and I bought myself a new sweater, so I had to wear it today. Thank you. Judy says, "Hi, Diana." And she sends love. So thank you very much. It's wonderful to see those hearts that Antoinette, and the hearts and the smiles. And I love seeing some of you live, those of you who are able to come live. So let's get into what this question is. It had to do with the second practice of the 3 in the article in the newsletter. And again, the link to it, because I did add it to my blog, and the link to it is just below. And while you're on my website, check out everything else on there, because all I did was put the link to that specific blog, but there are many other articles. If you just click on blog, you can find a lot of different articles, including Piper's stories. And speaking of Piper, she's behind us, sound asleep. She's all worn out from playing ball earlier this morning. Okay, the second practice that I talked about in this article is one that these are things I've used over the years. And there was a time, go back probably 20 years, there was a time I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would just be frightened of the lack I felt in my life. And am I going to be able to pay this bill and that bill? And I lived in lack, and I didn't realize what was going on because I was making decent money. In addition to working with clients, I was also editors for textbooks, and I had some of my own books out. Plus, I did a lot of writing articles and sold them. So I was making much better money than I am now. Because I've cut back on my workload considerably. I'm 78. It was time, but I still do see clients and I still do write a lot. And of course, I still do have the books. You can check those out on the website as well. But I tell you this because I stopped waking up years ago in the middle of the night. I stopped worrying about money. And even though I make much less than I used to, well, in my book, much less. In somebody else's book, it's all relative, but I make less than I used to, and I have no worries. And I always feel I have whatever I need to take care of myself and 4-legged family. And it's magical the way it works. So one of the practices I talked about requires a knowledge of a checking account. And so you go to your bank and you get one of these. It's a register. And if you if you're young and you've never used checks, you're doing everything electronically, you probably don't know what in the world I'm talking about here. But this is a check register. They're free at your local bank. If you have a savings account or CDs or a checking account at the local bank, this will be free. I don't know what happens. I don't know if this is true internationally. So this is something I know works in the US. I'm sorry, I don't know if it works internationally. So hello, Lexi Luna. She says, hi, Diane and Phillip. So glad to be able to catch you live today, and lots of hearts and hugs. We're glad you're with us today, too. Thank you. I look over here because that's the bigger screen and it's just easier to read. So anyway, you need a check register. Then what you do the first day, and you can vary the amount, but the first day in the check register, you pay yourself $200. So in the column that says money in, you'd put $200. You'd put the date over here. And then you decide how to spend that $200. Now remember, this is not real money. This is manifesting money, a means of manifesting, but you're learning about your feelings around lack. And I'll tell you my story in a moment. But what you do then is you have to spend that $200, and you can spend it on anything you want. You can spend it on a donation. You can spend it on buying a new sweater if you want. It's up to you how you spend it. So then the next day, you double that $200, so you would have $400 that you have to spend, and you can pay the rent, buy gasoline for the car, buy dog food, whatever. The third day, you have $800, and so on. You have to spend the money, but remember, it's not real money, so don't go out and spend it for what you're writing in here. It's a way of seeing what your money issues are. What I learned, I got to about $8,000, which didn't take too long because you're doubling the amount every day. So at $8,000, I said, I am so bored with this. This is silly. I am so bored with this. So what did I do? I was telling a friend I was having dinner with at the time. His name was Tom. And Tom is now an angel for me and still helps me out with the money, I think. And Tom looked at me and he said, "You're bored?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm bored with doing this process of trying to manifest money." And he said, "Well, what'd you buy that's fun?" And I thought for a minute, and I thought, well, I bought some books. I like books. And he kind of snickered, and he said, "What'd you buy that's really fun?" And I said, "Well, books are fun. I bought gas for the car so I could drive." And he snickered again, and he said, "Go buy a $200 bottle of wine." I nearly choked. Number one, I drink once a year. I have a Guinness at the Irish Festival, and I get drunk on less than half the glass. So I've never been a heavy drinker, never really liked alcohol. And to spend $200 on a bottle of wine, I could not even imagine. But once I got over the shock, I heard what he was saying, and I got it. And later that day, he took me shopping, and the shopping was at the Mercedes dealer, not to buy a car, but he said, just sit in it and try it out and see what you think. I said, I'm not going to buy a Mercedes. Never. Not my style, for one. And he said, that's not the point. Think about the $200 bottle of wine. So I thought about it, and I remembered it wasn't about a $200 bottle of wine. It was about my being so shocked at the idea of spending $200 on a bottle of wine. It was my feeling that I didn't have $200 to spend on a bottle of wine. It was my idea that I may choose not to spend $200 on a bottle of wine, or to spend whatever a Mercedes costs. I may choose not to spend that money, but as long as I feel I can't, then I'm living in lack. And I got it just like that. And by the way, I went out and bought a Toyota. Now, I traded in my Blazer for a Toyota. But the point is, there was a lack here, a feeling of not having enough to be able to do something like that. I stopped having nightmares. I stopped dreaming about not having enough. I stopped the lack just with that one simple practice of using the check register and the conversation with my friend. I realized I was bored with money. Money has never been a motivator for me. And people with a lot of money probably don't understand that. Some are in my family, and they don't understand that's not my motivation. Money comes to me because of what I do, not because of the money. For example, I love talking with my clients, and I'm grateful for the money that comes. I love doing this. I took the ads off because I felt they got in the way. And I deeply appreciate the donations that many of you send to me. I am deeply grateful for that. I don't do this for that, though. That's not my motivation. So I never changed that. That's still not my motivation. But my motivation when I write a book is to help somebody gain knowledge, is to help me get something out as well. So what I want to say to you is look at what money means to you. If it's your motivation, you probably have a fair amount of money. But if you're living in lack, like I used to feel I did, you've got to shift that. So there are 2 more practices. Go to my website, look it up, and find it. But here's what Phillip says about money. And I don't know that any of this is surprising, but who knows? It might be. So I said, Phillip, talk to us about money. And here's what he said. And I want to just take a moment and say hello to everybody before I read what Phillip says. Okay. We said hello to Antoinette. We said hello to Judy. Lexi Luna, we said hello to you. And Akila says, hello, everyone. Lexi Luna says, this is a great topic that I think will help me greatly. Thanks so much for this info. You're welcome. Michelle Kidd says, hi. Yay, made alive. Yes. Thank you for all you do. Oh, hi from New Zealand. Oh, you're having summer. We're having winter. It's warmer today, but it's been turning cold here. And Judy says, do you have to do this for any amount of time or just until you conquer the lack? I just did it. Judy, I just did it till I really realized what was going on. And it took Tom, it took my friend to help me recognize I was getting so bored with doing this. And that's a sign right there. Or fear, any fear that comes up. Remember, there's love, there's fear. Every emotion comes out of either love or fear. So if it comes out of fear, which lack is fear of not having enough. So if it comes out of fear, then that you're going to recognize that. And then you just want to look deeper at that. So I looked deeper at why I felt bored, but my friend is the one who helped me really recognize what was going on. I want to also say there are 2 other practices that I do suggest. One is a minute meditation that I did not make up, but again, it's on that article. And the other one is about giving and receiving. Just take another 2 minutes and read the article. And the other thing I want to tell you about before I forget is we do have Sacred Circle in December. It's on the 29th. You can find out about that on my website as well. That I do charge for. I charge $20 for that. Okay. Here's what Phillip says about money. Within each society, the currency used is different, as is its value. The value of currency is only that which you give it. For some, money allows you to give to yourself and others. This brings on happiness. For others, money creates fear. This is played out in the form of controlling, hoarding, or other forms of fear. My fear was lack. Money carries the energy of the user. The one who uses money for their good and the good of all will find money useful and see money as good and helpful. I want to also say I always I was taught tithing as a kid, so I always do believe in giving back. And when I lived in lack, I felt I'm giving back to get. And that had to shift. I'm giving back to be able to give and enjoy the giving. That's the difference for me. You just have to keep looking at yourself to find out what the difference, what it is for you, what works for you and what doesn't. Philip goes on to say, those who fear loss or use money disrespectfully or frivolously will see money as a means of self-esteem, which, as you can see, is bad. Self-esteem must come from the inner self-love, not the outward form. I do see people who money makes them feel good, makes them feel powerful. And we see that a lot in politics. And it does give them some power, but that's not the spiritual way. As you can, and I reached to the point where I could buy a sweater, and I still go to Marshall's, which is, I don't know if you'd call it an outlet store. I guess that's what it is. But you get good prices. But I bought myself a new sweater. There you go. Philip goes on to say, as you can now understand, money is not good or evil. It is the tool to help or divide. Tool to help or divide. When used as a tool of respect, an even exchange takes place. For example, when you purchase something, you exchange that purchase for money. That purchase may be an object or that which gives you knowledge and helps you grow. The money helps you and the one from whom you purchase. This is equally rewarding. This is also true when you give the gift of money or that which you purchased and are passing along. Those who receive the gift feel rewarded, as do those who give the gift, for that which we give returns 10 times in rewards, including the reward of feeling good, knowing you have helped someone. And I want to stop there for a moment because I want to say so often we give a gift. And I know in my generation we were taught, oh, you say, oh, you shouldn't have. No, you say, thank you. Thank you. I deeply appreciate this. For my birthday, and those of you who make donations, people gave me so many wonderful and expensive gifts that they know there's no way that I could return monetarily a gift of that nature. They still gave it to me. So I say thank you. And that's how we receive graciously. And then use the gift and tell them how you use the gift. When money is hoarded or used to control or used to feel superior or used in any fear fashion, the harm is done to the soul as well as to the human. This can be unlearned within one's lifetime, but usually more lifetimes are needed. When someone lives in lack, they must ask what they have or not have done in this and other lives to be living in lack. And those were questions I asked myself. Why do I feel I lack? Why do I feel I'm not enough to have plenty of money? Why do I feel I'm not enough to be able to receive? I answered those questions and grew from those questions, grew past them, and I'm so grateful. Philip goes on to say, they must then forgive themselves and rewrite harmful patterns into helpful patterns. Whatever you are experiencing, you have chosen to experience, whether consciously or at a deeper level. At any time, you can choose to have a different experience. If you are willing to look at what is, understand why you created this, and to do the work of rewriting the patterns. We remind you that all love begins with self-love. We suggest you create that which you want out of love, not fear, whether that which you want is $1 or $1 million. And I want to say the article, the three processes or the three practices, including the one we explained about the check register, those are just three. I have so many others that I practice. Every time you spend money, say thank you for this money to pay the mortgage. I keep little dishes at the door as I go in and out, and I have money, not a lot, $20, $25 in there. And I say thank you for this money every time I go in and out the door. So there are many, many different ways of learning about what your processes are in money. The three I suggest on the article and in the newsletter. And I we'll put out more in the newsletter, so do sign up for it. Again, it's free. But manifesting money, there are many ways of doing that, but it all comes back to how do we feel about money? And that comes back to how do we feel about ourselves? As Phillip says, we remind you that all love begins with self-love. We suggest you create that which you want out of love, not fear, whether that which you want is $1 or 1 million. Let's get our message for the week, shall we? I'm hearing left a little bit stronger than right. And so if you heard left, that's our message for the week. If you heard right, that's a message you need to listen to very strongly for yourself, because that's a message for yourself. On the left, this is page 332 from the Master's Book of Answers. Your experiences are those to which you are receptive. I've been using this book for years. I actually wrote it for myself back in 1987, or back in that period of time. And it was in a notebook. And finally, I don't know, somewhere, when was this published? A long time ago. The original copy was published in 2013. I finally said, that should be a book, because it's helpful for everybody. Because when people would come to my workshops, I'd say, hey, use that notebook and get yourself a message. And so that came out of this book. And I said 87, it might have been 97, but it was a long time before I actually published this. I even moved from one place to another, and I just had it in this notebook. And here it is. Remember, your experiences are those to which you are receptive. If you heard right, this is page 333. You cannot reach the destination if you do not begin the journey. You cannot reach the destination if you do not begin the journey. So, my friends, if you want to reach a point where you feel you're worthy of being a millionaire or receiving $1, it's up to you. But remember, you have to start the journey. And you also remember your experiences are those to which you are receptive. I'm still not a millionaire. I will never be. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. It's not my goal in this life to be a millionaire. It is my goal in this life to live the best life I can, and to use that knowledge and that freedom that living my best life gives me to help others, to tell you how I did that, to teach you. That's my goal, to help others, to serve. And if that makes me a millionaire, if that brings me $1 million, so be it. If it brings me enough to pay the mortgage, take care of Piper and the other animals, etc., and buy a new sweater at Marshall's, so be it. I love you, my friends. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for those of you who could come live. And I'm so grateful for your comments and the thumbs up, those of you who were unable to come live. Thank you so much for those comments. They do help. Put your questions, and I do ask, if it's a personal question, contact me. We'll set up a session. And I do charge for that. But if it's a question of general nature, please definitely put the questions in the comments below, or email them to me. And if you are interested in more questions about money, I will definitely put more articles on the blog from the newsletter, because I do have things out there on the newsletter that I usually don't put those articles on the blog, but I will go do that. Probably not today. Antoinette says, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the love you receive from us and spread it out into the world. And thank you for the love you send to us. And Judy says, thank you, Diane and Phillip. Very helpful information. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Again, let us know what you want to know. I love you all. I am so grateful for all of you. Thank you for your love. And thank you. those of you who do send donations. It's not necessary, but it is appreciated. Thank you. See you next Friday. By the way, if you haven't listened to December's predictions, Phillip made the predictions for December. They are out on the YouTube now. So see you next week. Bye, my friends. I love you.